Welcome, Army fans. This is Joe Iacono with GoBlackKnights.com, and we are bringing you a very special edition of the podcast tonight. Really excited to have a good personal friend and classmate of mine that we haven't interacted much the past 20-some years since graduation, but had a very tight bond. And you could see Dave Bowlus, E2, E3, listed as cadet companies, so that's awesome. We were in E3 together for 2 years. And Dave was, some of you guys have heard me talk about. My first year, I coached our brigade championship football team back at West Point in Company 3 there, back when we used to play tackle, back when men were men. And Dave was my captain of that team and my middle linebacker. And I knew then he was going to be a great leader. And we used to have Bible studies for the team every week, which was really cool. And Dave is now, no surprise, the senior chaplain at the United States Military Academy. Dave, it's been a while, so can you give everybody a life update as far as you and your family and your military career? Just whatever you want to talk about. I know you had a son at West Point. We know Merity's awesome. She was phenomenal back in the day, so I'm sure she's only gotten better. So go ahead and just give everybody an update on what the senior chaplain at West Point's been up to the past 25 years or so.
Hey, Joe. Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I call you Joe, but I want to call you Coach. And actually out on the parade field down on the plane for ring weekend, I ran into Shane Sullivan, also on the E3 Brigade Championship football team, and he sent me a picture of the plaque.
Nice.
As one of the BPs tried to throw a bunch of plaques away, and he got in there and rescued it. But this is a picture of our championship team in the fall of 1992, and you're right there on the far right, looking like a true coach. Got the towel wrapped around your neck and everything. But that was a great year. And
nice. Shane was an awesome tight end, big lumbering guy from West Virginia, and we hit him on we had some really nice play action game that we could hit Shane on deep, and he would fool. One of our biggest plays in the championship game was a 4th and 1. It was really it was more like a 4th and 2. And Doug Crandall always reminds me of this. I had an ISO called with our fullback and our tailback. In fact, you were the fullback. You were the lead blocker on that. So you were supposed to block for a kid named Dean Olmstead, who was our tailback, in the A gap, just a basic ISO play. And they had kind of stacked against the run, and Doug saw it and audibled out of it and called the play action to Sullivan, and it went for like 40 yards. It was a great call by Dougie Crandall. So
great memory. Great memory. So yeah, Joe, hey, listen, really great to just see you again. Graduated with you in 93, did 5.5 years as an armor officer, felt called to ministry, got out, went to seminary, came back in right after 9/11 happened, early 2002, 12 deployments later, 25 years later.
Wow.
Doors open to come back here to be the senior chaplain of West Point. You mentioned Merity. Yeah, we waited a full 24 hours after graduation to get married. She's been with me 2 kids later. Andrew's class of 2021. He's a engineer captain right now in the Army.
Nice.
Getting ready to get married. And then our daughter is
Where's he stationed at?
He's at Leonard Wood right now, going through the engineer captain career course.
Cool.
But he's ruined for the rest of his career because his first assignment was Hawaii. So no matter where he goes,
doesn't get any better than that. Yeah, it's all downhill from there.
Done. Yeah. So yeah, we pinch ourselves every day just being here. It's great to be back, and of course keeping a close eye out on the Eagles at E3 and also E2, my initial company. But it's been great, Joe. It's been awesome to be back here.
Good stuff. What part of Post do you live on as the senior chaplain? Are you on Thayer, or are you up the hill somewhere?
Yeah, great question. And a lot of people, even grads, don't know this, but there's one set of quarters connected to the cadet chapel. And if you don't go around to the back of the chapel, you won't see it. but 115-year-old home. I'm sitting in the office right now. As a matter of fact, just on the other side of that bookshelf is a secret door that leads into the sanctuary of the chapel. And
That's pretty cool.
it's the most
That's some
interesting.
awesome West Point history about the secret door that I'll guarantee you hardly anybody knows about unless you've been a chaplain or happen to know one really well. That is really cool. You're also relatively close to Mikey Stadium, which is nice. You don't have to go up all the stairs to get up there. You're already up on the level of the ball field there, so that's
Absolutely.
good.
We're close to. I can look right over. I'm looking out the windows right now. I can see the cadet area. Provides a strategic prayer platform for me, and like you said, Mikey Stadium. It's just phenomenal to help build the faith of the Corps of Cadets.
You got the best view on campus up there, better than the soup, really. That's great.
Well, I would never tell him that, but I think so.
I'll tell him. That's awesome. And like you said, it's just I imagine. I mean, you just get to walk out on your porch every morning and look at God's glory, and that's pretty cool. That's got to be pretty awesome to see out there. So
yeah, absolutely brings back a lot of memories, as you can imagine. You know, we got Bradley Barracks right down there. That's where Second Reg is, and so this place is chock full of memories. But I tell you what, a lot of people say, hey, is it true as the Corps has it gotten easier? And while it's different, I think one of the changes is, back when we were there, they, upperclassmen kind of led by attrition. It was the attrition model, try to weed you out and, do you have what it takes? Now it's lead by development. It's, if you get in, they recognize, hey, listen, you're something special, but we're still going to break you down, but we're going to try to develop you. And but I'm telling you, these cadet basic training services here, when we open things up for prayer, man, I'm seeing full-grown men, with tears in their eyes, crying. I mean, they're still feeling the pressure big time, and they're calling out to the Lord, but it's still hard. And it's good to see that, and good to be back here to help the next generation of cadets graduate from here.
That's awesome. That is so cool, and I'm so happy for you. I think that lines up with what I've heard from a lot of our classmates and other older grads is, we're older grads now. So, but our youth is renewed like the Eagles, so it's all good. Is that it's not harder or easier. It's just different. I think that's a good way to kind of look at stuff.
Yeah, you're definitely different. No, it's great. The things that I see, the cadets, especially the plebes, they absolutely are still learning. They're still working hard. Field training is more realistic than it's ever been.
I'm sure. That's probably improved a ton since a bunch of you guys deployed so much. I think you guys have way more real world experience maybe than what we had, in the early 90s. It was a pretty peaceful time, relatively speaking, in the 80s and stuff.
Right. Yeah, there are a lot of shenanigans going around, of course, a lot of laughs, but even the plebes, they go out there and they're experiencing a little mini Ranger School as they go out to Lake Frederick, do the Crucible now. I mean, just things that we just never even got to, they're doing. So it's been great to see.
Very cool. So as senior chaplain, that's a really important role, or at least it sounds that way. So what are some of your kind of day-to-day responsibilities and duties in that role? Do you kind of oversee the chaplains of each of the different the head kind of pastors of each of the different chapels? What's your interaction with the cadets? And I know this is a pretty open-ended question, so take as long as you want, but kind of what all does that entail with your role, kind of?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of the Pope of West Point, although I'm not, not Catholic, but, we've got a total of 10 chaplains here. We've got 2 priests, and one of those includes Father Matt, who's the USCC chaplain. Father Matt's been here for a long time, a great spiritual leader. But we also have a rabbi here and other Protestant chaplains. So I'm the senior chaplain here, and we've got chapels on post and very, very active and healthy religious service schedule. During the summertime, especially when the new cadets come here, the plebes, every Sunday we have services. And then you'll be happy about this. Remember chaplain's time. Remember on Wednesdays we'd go down there and spend time and drink Coke and eat cookies with the chaplain.
Oh, absolutely. That was the best break from Beast that you can imagine. That was awesome.
Well, I'll tell you what, for like the last 10 years, it hasn't been here, and we got it turned back on. And so we got chaplain's time going on again. It's been great because it just allows those spiritual conversations and that growth and development to happen. But I'm the superintendent's chaplain. So,
I was going to ask about like what your interaction was with the leadership of the academy, whether the soup or the com or whatever. So you're actually the soup's chaplain. That's cool.
Yeah, the USMA chaplain. So I'm on his personal staff. And so, just chaplains advise in terms of, religion, ethics, morality. He's given us a lot of leash. The Army has the holistic health and fitness program now, the H2F program. Covers 5 domains, and one of those domains is spiritual readiness. And the superintendent gathered his leaders, and he said, listen, I want a full H2F program to include spiritual readiness, and Chaplain Bowlus is going to help us get there. So we've got a few new programs in place to help the cadets to understand, the role of faith in their lives, whether they're, Christian or Catholic or whatever they are. Everybody in their life needs purpose and meaning. And, honestly, you can't think about purpose and meaning in life without thinking about, hey, what are my beliefs? What's my worldview in life? So we're having those conversations with the cadets. And I tell you what, a lot of cadets are like, wow, this is refreshing. We need to be talking about this because, listen, our generation right now, our culture, we're so dependent on tech. We're so dependent on other things, not really thinking deeply about what was I created for, what might be my purpose, do I have meaning in life? When tough times come in life, what do I turn to? Who do I turn to? And so those conversations are happening, and I think they're kind of refreshing.
It was so cool. And I couldn't agree with you more, right? It's always nice to, with the stress level that cadets have to deal with on a daily basis, and even when they go out into, the big army, as the football players call it, where they're leading soldiers and everything. If you're, and I learned this, later in life, really, probably as I was getting out of the army or kind of while I was an officer, I guess, that if that piece of it isn't right, like you said, if you don't understand what your purpose is and what your cause is, and you don't have that straight from a spiritual perspective, everything else can fall apart pretty easily. And, I read a book once by a pastor who I really respect, who said, if you don't understand the purpose of something, you'll abuse it. And that's what we see a lot in society, that people don't understand their purpose. That's why you see a lot of the problems, in my opinion, that you see out there in society. So I love what you're doing. I think that's really cool. And I think that's a critical part to the whole kind of cadet development program, or what you just called H2F, which is a new term for me. But
hey, Joe, let me tell you something else that's kind of cool. So, one of the things you and I talked to before you invited me to come on here was just, being able to do the Army-Navy prayer last December. And I got to admit, that was one of those moments as I was stepping up there with the mic. I was just like, wow, I never in 32 years ago when I was there at the Army-Navy game, would I even have imagined I would have been a chaplain. 2, I would have been a chaplain in West Point. And 3, delivering the Army-Navy prayer. It was just a surreal, awesome moment. But I can't tell you the number of cadets, as they're on their social media platform, whatever it is, and say, hey, chaplain, that prayer was recorded and it just keeps getting broadcast over and over again. And people have taken it and, set music to it.
It went viral, Dave.
And well, yeah, it's one of those moments, it is the only prayer that is televised on a national stage. So one, it's just an amazing opportunity. I'm so grateful that our our national television networks still publicize that. They still put it out. But the other thing too, I opened up that prayer with scripture, and it was Psalm 121. And actually, the last 60 years, every service, the first Sunday of plebe year, the new cadets, and you probably remember it when Chaplain Camp was our chaplain. It comes from Psalm 121, and it says this: I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And that's how I started the prayer at Army Navy, and then just kind of went into it, just thanking God that this game reminds us of the best of America, and also reminds us too, as Americans, how we can be, how we should be as we look at these cadets and mids and, just the values and their character. But I think that's one of the reasons why I went viral, and it's continuing to float around, because it gives people hope and it grounds people, because, it reminds us to look up and receive our help. If we look at ourselves, if we look down, all we're going to see are our problems. And Lord knows we all have enough problems, but man, we need hope. And that's what the nation needs now.
That's awesome. And that's a phenomenal verse, phenomenal scripture. And yeah, I mean, you were, like you said, like that prayer keeps getting rebroadcast. That, like you said, I mean, I got to ask you, you literally were up there in front of millions of people, between the live audience and the TV audience, and then people who saw the game afterwards. Any nerves? Did you have to say a prayer yourself before you got up there to calm yourself down? Kind of, what was that like?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I won't lie to you, man. I had to get the butterflies in formation for sure. They were floating around inside of me, but God's good. He prepares us. So I've, in my 25 years as a chaplain, I've had the opportunity to pray in front of large formations and, of course, in congregations. But I will say that was the largest, and I was well prepared. Probably the best advice I got was from the Navy chaplain. I called him. I said, "Hey, even though you probably don't want me to do as good as you did last year, Navy chaplain, what do you got for me?" And he said, "Hey, the one thing to watch out for is that echo is horrible. So watch out." And sure enough, I mean, there's like a second and a half echo when it comes back at you. So just like a good football player, you got to be ready to be hit and not drop the ball. I was ready for that echo to hit me, but I just kept on motoring through it. But I was really glad for that little bit of advice.
That's very cool. And that's, those echoes in the stadium are pretty crazy. It was funny. The first couple on-field pre-games I did, right? I forgot that I was mic'd up, and the mics these days do a really good job blocking out the background noise. So I'm like screaming my pre-game prediction into the microphone. And I'm like, the guy, my cameraman's just like, "Calm down, you got this." You there, Dave? Oh boy. Hold up, Dave. We froze up. So, how much, Dave, it sounds really like you've got, like you said, the soup is giving you a lot of leeway. And I mean, sounds like there's a great environment for you to, lead up there and really do some good things spiritually with the Corps. Because we're primarily an Army athletics site, and even more so Army football. How much interaction do you get with the athletic department and the different varsity Corps squad teams at West Point?
Yeah, well, as far as like our Black Knight football team, they've got two chaplains up there. So Father Matt and also one of our regimental chaplains. I mean, when they're doing their 3-week camp, they're up there every night. And I'd say majority of the team, they're gathering for some sort of devotional at the end. The chaplains are around. I tell you, our Fellowship of Christian Athletes here at West Point is just going gangbusters right now. So
good.
I stick my head in there. They just had their first meeting. Oh yeah. So I got a standing invite. I've been there several times. Honestly, so I just finished my first year here, and that's one of the areas that we're going to flood the zone, so to speak, as far as getting our chaplains just to be there. Ministry of presence around the teams. But there's just a lot of faith. And I tell you what, there's a lot of small huddles, Bible studies that meet amongst all the teams. And it's just a great thing to see, for sure.
Yeah. I won't name any names. I won't mention anything. There's a football player who is very well known. Not going to give anybody any more details than that. He's probably one of the best players on the team. And in a number of interviews with me, it is clear to me he is a young man of very strong faith and deep conviction, and really, really like that kid and rooting for him all year this year, for sure, along with the rest of the team, obviously. Yeah. But he's been pretty vocal about it, and I really appreciate that. So let's see. With football season only being a few days away, and we're gonna switch gears a little bit and go to football. Football being a few days away, and the success of the 2024 Army team. You interact with the Corps a lot. What's kind of the vibe and atmosphere of the Corps cadets as we get ready for football season this year?
Well, listen, we all know, man, we were riding a high wave last year, just phenomenal year. And so I think there's a lot of expectation. I mean, the Army football team, brings a lot of hope to the Corps, brings a lot of fun, and also brings, a lot of extra privileges when Army football is winning. So especially the plebes, they're hoping for, for a good year. But no, I think there's just a lot of expectation. The team, I've met a lot of the football players. They're disciplined, they're respectful, and they're absolutely working hard. Coach Munkin around campus, I mean, he's a steely-eyed killer, and he is all business, and you can just tell the team is ready to go for Friday night.
Awesome, good stuff. Super excited about that. Dave, last question for you. I wanted to say this before we got off the air, and try not to, so I am an emotional guy. I'll try not to be emotional about it. As a chaplain, and even before that, just as a follower of Christ, when we were cadets and you played ball for me and we were classmates, you had a major impact on my life, but also a lot of other people. And I think that's why God's blessed you with the role you're in. One of my favorite kind of gospel stories from the book of Matthew is the parable of the talents. And he says, because you've been faithful in a little, I'll give you a lot. And that kind of just reminds me of you and kind of what you've been blessed to accomplish. Two-part question. One, what would you say your most rewarding experience has been as an Army chaplain? And then two, and maybe even at West Point. And then two, you talked a little bit about purpose earlier. What would you say, the Lord wants you to do with the rest of your life?
Oh yeah, 2 softballs. Hey, thanks.
No problem. That's what I'm here for. I'm used to talking to Munkin and Woody, and I ask those guys one question, and they can roll for 20 minutes sometimes. So
the first one, what's been my remote?
Dave, hold on. You froze again.
Yeah, so I think the most rewarding times, while it's very tough to be away from family, especially when you have a close family, deployments with our great Army soldiers has been just the best. And so 12 deployments, many of those with special operations units, especially the 75th Ranger Regiment. I just saw the Lord work in some great, in some just amazing, and then as what's next for me? I'm actually asking for 3 additional years here. I hit my mandatory retirement date next summer, in summer 26. But we've asked if we can stay for another 3 years, and that's being decided upon right now. So hopefully the answer is yes. We would love to continue to invest in this great community here at West Point.
Very cool. Well, Dave, thank you very much for your time. We know you're super busy, so we really do appreciate you taking the time tonight. Thank you very much. And go Army, beat Tarleton State. and later on, hopefully beat Navy and repeat as conference champs. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Joe Iacono with GoBlackKnights.com, along with Army West Point Senior Chaplain Colonel Dave Bowlus. And just a reminder, if you're catching us on YouTube, to go ahead and subscribe to our channel. It's totally free. We're really trying to drive those subscriptions so we can continue to get great content like what you've seen tonight, what you saw earlier in the week with Colonel Adisa King and Lieutenant Marquel Broughton. Thank you. Go Army, beat Navy.